Hey everyone, it's Caleb with Antique Book Collective again, and I'm coming to you guys with the third part of this four-part series of where to find basically sales near me. This episode is, of course, where to find Friends of the Library book sales near me. So this one, honestly, I think is like the most important tip, and it's actually one that I learned during my time as an Amazon FBA book reseller. Sorry, I was a scanner, as they called them, because I would go and scan all the different books. I would find the ones worth money. Issue with being a scanner is, first off, not all bookstores and book sales like you, because scanners have a bad rap for making absolute messes, and I have seen them do it. It is absolutely horrifying seeing how badly they can treat books. It's like, guys, I thought you are book people. You're not a book person. If you're doing this, you guys are horrible people. I need to slap you. Sorry for the sidetrack. But yeah, scanners, they're not always accepted. But the other issue with being a scanner is you don't find some of the most valuable books out there. So as a scanner, I found some signed first edition books from these books that were newer, and they were worth maybe $100. And yeah, I'm sure if you're a scanner, you're all sorts of excited from that. You think, oh wow, that's a lot of money. But as someone that sells antique books on eBay, who is selling antique first edition signed books on eBay, it's not as exciting, because rather than make $100, I could be making $1,000 or more on these books, or at least hundreds of dollars on these books. So the idea of having my best book be $100 or having my average book be $100, which would you rather have? For me, I'd rather have my average be $100. So that's just me. I mean, I'm sure you guys have your own reasons for how you do things, but that's me. So, anywho's, what is this awesome little hack on how to find Friends of the Library sales? So, one way you can do it, which is not the hack, is you can go on Facebook and you can follow all the different libraries near you, 100 miles out. You can wait until their sales come up. You can become a member of every single Friends of the Library group all over your state, all over your seaboard. If you're like me, I go up and down the western U.S. seaboard, get all the estate sales I can, all the Friends of the Library sales I can, all the Goodwill outlets I can. But the issue is that'd be a lot of newsletters to be on if I signed up to that. So my little pro tip is go on down and, let's say, book sale finder. As you can see, it's already typed in because I've looked it up before because it's so stinking amazing. So just click on over. It's totally free to use. They pay for their entire site by people paying for ad space, and also for Friends of the Library sales also pay to get put on it, I think. So that's how they make their money. They're not making money on you. So basically, you just got to look around. You got to find whatever state you're in. So for me, I live in Oregon. And if you look at where I'm pointing, I live like right there in the Portland area, which is right next to Washington. So for me, I actually look up the Washington Friends of the Library sales often. Not as often as I do the Oregon ones, because I really have a lot of luck with the Oregon ones, but I do hit the Washington ones pretty often. Downside is there are times that they don't have any sales going on. So, for example, we're just getting out of the government shutdowns and all that jazz. Oregon and the rest of the western U.S., we were shut down longer than everyone else, even though everything else, not going to comment on that, don't want to get banned. But yeah, there's all that. So, full disclosure, there are times that everything gets shut down. I didn't think that'd ever be a thing 5 years ago when I started this business, but evidently it is. Evidently, going to a dusty old library can cause a spread. Oh, I already commented too much, sorry. Anyways, just click on whatever state you're in. So I'm Oregon, so I just clicked Oregon. Something really cool that I have to point out is up here in this top part. So you can go back to the home page, or it lets you go to two of the adjacent areas, which I think is pretty stinking dandy. I have used this several times, but not as often as you might think you might. So I'm just going to scroll on down a little bit. So I just went on this like 3 days ago or something, so that's why some of these are purple. So as you can see up here, it says the month and the year. So in January, there aren't a lot of sales going on right now in January, so it has some advertised ones. So I have a couple going on this weekend, which is pretty cool, and I might be going to a couple of them. And you also have February. It tells you which ones are happening in February, which is pretty cool. If you scroll down, it tells you the different bookstores, which is totally cool because bookstores are just small businesses like us, except they actually have a brick and mortar place. Sometimes they can cut you some pretty good deals. So you might want to check those out. And honestly, it's a small business, so check it out anyways. Next up, you have ongoing sales. Ongoing sales is a Friends of the Library bookstore, usually. These bookstores are normally like a small part of the library that you find them in, which are pretty cool. I have made some pretty good money from them. I haven't made as much money from the ongoing sales as I do the like once a year, once a month. Those sales generally do better for me than the ongoing ones. Just a pro tip right there, but it's definitely worth going to at least once. Just going to scroll down a little further. You have the future sales tab. It tells you every single month of what's planned. Thanks to the whole coronavirus and shutdown stuff, sometimes these things get moved off of the date. I found out the hard way as I drove out to Prineville in August. Pendleton. So Pendleton is a ways away from Portland. It's not too crazy, but I ended up going to Milton Freewater after that, so it was a long drive. I drove from one side of the state basically to the other, and Oregon's a pretty big state, so did all that driving, but along the way I found out Pendleton's closed theirs down at the last minute, which was totally annoying, and I wish they gave you some kind of heads up, but they didn't, which was even more frustrating. But that's just my little complaint right there. Anywho, it tells you all the different months, goes out a few months, and then it gives you the list of the ones that have paid extra to have their stuff advertised. Pretty simple stuff, and you could just keep on scrolling down until you find your specific place. So let's say that I live in Redmond, so I'm just going to Control F. So I'm on PC, so Control F is find, and I'm going to type in Redmond. Let's see. Oh, I guess there wasn't one in Redmond. My bad. I'm going to type in Bend. That's right next to Redmond. So as you can see, Bend has an ongoing sale, and I'm just going to go down to it. There's the ongoing sale, or you can click the actual city name. So as you can see, it's ongoing. Looks like they still have a lot of shutdown stuff going, but it's pretty simple. This particular one, it does not say how many books they have in their ongoing bookstore. I can say, because I've been there, that it's a small area. I would say maybe 20 feet by 20 feet, roughly. Just very rough number there. It was a pretty cool bookstore. However, it didn't have a whole lot of antique books, so I'm not going to go back. However, their library in Bend was absolutely amazing. I have never been in a library that was that big and that cool, so I was very excited to go to that one. Wish I could have stayed and read a lot more books, but I was on a long trip and ended up going down to down to Reading after that. That was a long drive, so didn't have much time to go. But anywho's, back up to the top really quick. Back to the whole thing of where it's saying sales in January. Albany is one. It's a clearance sale. Corvallis is one. It's a clearance sale. So those were two that I did check out. Lebanon is the one I would be more interested in going to because it's cool. So as you can see here, it tells you the website. The websites don't always work. Just a tip right there. So you might have to go onto Google and type in the stuff. You might have to go on Facebook and poke around. I've had to do that. I've even had to go on the local newspapers of these places to find out what's going on sometimes. So full disclosure, this site is not 100% foolproof. It's because the people that are filling these things out aren't always keeping it up to date. So full warning. But there is the date that it happens on right here. There is the address. There is the building that it's in. They have a phone number. All that fun stuff. Again, another issue is sometimes all that data is not actually correct, so you might have to poke around at your Friends of the Library Facebook page, on Google, all these places. You might have to poke around. It is a little more work, but more work means less people are going to be going to it that aren't locals to that area. And when locals don't go to these places, when you have people from the outside going to these places, those outsiders are the scanners. They're all the other book sales people, and they are the competition that you have. So to have to only compete with locals is actually the best thing you want. So the harder it is to go to these places, the better it is for you. Believe it or not, that is exactly how it is. So anywho's, back to the listing really quick. So 10,000 books. I would say this is probably going to be like 30,000 books. They normally don't get the numbers quite right on how many books. They just do a rough estimate, and people always undercut how many books there are, like 99.9% of the time at least. So that's something that's really exciting. That is a lot of books to choose from. I have personally found that for every roughly 100 books I go through, there's at least one worth keeping. So if you're going to a place with 30,000 books, you guys can do the math. That's a pretty good trip. So of course, that's not the only thing I would hit on that trip. It is the main thing I would probably hit, but it wouldn't be the only one because there's always a chance that you might not get as many books as you want. And there's a better chance that there's estate sales and garage sales and other book sales going on around there. And those other book sales and whatnot are what you also want to hit, because that really increases your profit because you're not having to drive as far and you can hit all these other places, get all these more books. And it's really cool, and you get to explore your entire state. It's pretty cool. So that's just all that. Back to the listing really quick. So 80% donated. So libraries buy books sometimes for these. They also put in their own books. So these are ex-library books. Ex-library books are known for not having as good a value. However, for when it's an antique book or it's a set of books, that is not always the case. So I'm actually going to stand up really quick. Sorry. And I'm back. So as you can see here, these are some ex-library books from a book set that I bought at a Friends of the Library sale. I believe this one was in Milton Freewater. Yeah, the one that I already mentioned today. So as you can see, it has the old barcodes on it. You have the old library things. They Sharpie over them. It normally can get pretty messy. You'll have writing in parts of them. You'll have stamps, all that sort of stuff. And if you get the older books, it's funny because you actually have the slip card, that you'd get in the old library books where you like put in your information and they know where your book is and all that stuff. Excuse me again. But yeah, ex-library books, they do have stamps. They do have all these damage things that buyers might not want. However, if the book is old enough, I find that it doesn't affect the value that much over other books that are in similar condition but not ex-library books. And honestly, I've sold some ex-library books for over $100. And they normally charge a lot less for ex-library books, like half as much sometimes. So it can be a really, really good deal. So by them saying that 80% of these books are donated, that means 80% of them come from other people in the community or stuff like that. And the other 20% means the library either bought them or they're ex-library books. So I know this is a long explanation for that, but that's that. 60% hardcover. Honestly, that sounds like it's a pretty high number. I would be totally happy to see that, though, if I go there. So that'd be pretty cool. But I normally find that like 30% is hardcovers, usually, because there's just so many paperback books out there. So the fact that it says 60% hardcover actually makes me think that this place could have a lot more value as well. Because hardcover books, you have a higher chance of them having more value because hardcover books cost more from the get-go. And it says sorted. That is something that you absolutely love. However, it's not a deal breaker for me. When it's not sorted, it means people won't want to go there because it's an absolute mess, which means you can really profit. No buyer restrictions, so this is something you'll see a lot. And if you're not from the whole industry of book reselling, book arbitrage, all that stuff, you won't know what it means. Basically, it boils down to several things, but one of the big ones is it doesn't mean they banned scanners from going. A lot of book sales and bookstores ban scanners, as I said earlier, because they make an absolute mess and disrespect the books. After that, they'll say the price of the books, so between 50 cents and $2. So I'm guessing $2 is the hardcover. I would guess $1 is a paperback book, and then the 50 cents is probably children's books. Of course, that's not guaranteed, but that's the sort of thing worth looking at. But the issue with this sale is this bottom line. Some books are from prior book sales. So it's not the biggest issue. There are bigger issues that I'll mention in a little bit. But the fact that these are books from another sale means that if you were at this one at the last sale, so let's say the last sale was last month, it means you'll be going through a lot of the same books. And eventually you'll get to the point that you can sort of remember some of those books and just not scan them again or go through them again, which is cool, but it does mean that it does dilute how many new books you're looking at. And another thing, though, this is the big off-putting thing that would make you not want to go again, is so this is honestly worth going to. But ones that aren't worth going to is when it says that books are removed. Here we go. Just scrolled up a little bit. We removed obviously valuable books to sell online. So I know it says that they likely missed some not so obvious treasures, and they do miss those quite a lot. They do miss a lot of obvious treasures or not so obvious treasures. However, when they take out the valuable ones, it does mean that they take out some of the more valuable ones. Like, seriously, instead of finding books that are worth $2,000, you might only find one that's worth $1,000. And I know that's still a huge win, but it definitely does mess with things. And some places are a lot better at pulling out all the valuable books than others. So you basically have to go to every single one at least once to find out what you can expect. So long story short, booksalefinder.com is the best thing ever you can go to. I'm going to link to it in the description. I'll probably link to it elsewhere in the future as well. I hope you guys really learned a lot from this video. I hope to see you guys in the next video, which is going to be how to plan your trips, because planning your trips is basically how you make the most money possible. I hope you guys can help me buy as many antique books as you can, because if we don't buy them, they go into the dumps. So help me save history, guys.